We begin our journey through Genesis chapter 10, often referred to as the Table of Nations or simply the Descendants of Noah. This chapter details the descendants of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, who repopulate the earth after the flood. The importance of this genealogy lies in how it establishes the foundations for the origins of nations, many of which shaped the world as we know it today. As we delve into the descendants of Japheth, the Bible speaks of the coastland peoples who spread across various regions. Many scholars believe that Japheth's descendants moved to areas that later became known as Europe and parts of Asia. The ancient text of the Bible gives us a glimpse into the migrations that shaped entire civilizations. The mention of Gomer and Magog in Genesis 10 verses 2-3 connects to later biblical prophecies, linking past genealogies to future events. These names reappear in the books of Ezekiel and Revelation, showing the lasting legacy of Noah's descendants in biblical history. The descendants of Ham also hold great significance. Ham's lineage is connected to some of the most powerful ancient civilizations, including Cush, Ethiopia, Mizraim, Egypt, and Canaan. These nations became key players in the ancient world, with their influence still felt today. Recent archaeological discoveries in Egypt and Ethiopia have revealed artifacts and texts that echo the biblical narrative of Ham's descendants. For example, hieroglyphs found in ancient Egyptian tombs and the ruins of the Kushite kingdoms give us a deeper understanding of the lives and cultures that emerged from these early peoples. Canaan, Noah's grandson, is perhaps one of the most discussed figures in the Bible due to the later interactions of his descendants with the Israelites. The Canaanites, who inhabited the land that would become Israel, were known for their advanced culture but also for practices that the Bible condemned. This lineage sets the stage for the conflicts that would arise in the book of Joshua. In Genesis 10, we see names like Sidon and Hate, marking the beginning of the Canaanite tribes. Sidon, for example, became a powerful Phoenician city known for its maritime trade and influence throughout the Mediterranean. The genealogies of Genesis 10 serve as a reminder of humanity's interconnectedness. From Noah's sons came nations, languages, and cultures that continue to shape our world. The passage demonstrates how our history is deeply rooted in these ancient stories. Excavations in the Middle East have uncovered ancient cities and inscriptions that corroborate the genealogical records found in Genesis. These discoveries not only validate the historical accuracy of the Bible but also reveal the complex relationships between the peoples of the ancient world. As we reflect on the legacy of Noah's descendants, let us remember the resilience and hope that sustained humanity in its darkest days. Just as Noah's family rebuilt after the flood, we too can find strength to renew and rebuild our own lives, trusting in God's enduring promise. Continuing our journey through Genesis 10, we now dive into the second half of the Table of Nations. This section details more about the descendants of Ham, particularly those of Canaan, and the beginnings of the peoples who would populate the known world. These verses remind us how nations were born and how the stories of these people continue to influence us today. As we explore verses 17 to 19, we see names like the Jebusites, Amorites, and Girgashites, tribes that would later play critical roles in biblical narratives. These groups settled in the land that would become Israel and surrounding territories. Their cities and cultures were sophisticated, and their influence spread throughout the ancient world. The Canaanites, descendants of Ham, were known for their advanced culture but also for practices that conflicted with the laws given to Israel. This cultural clash sets the stage for the future conflicts described in the Bible, particularly during the time of Joshua and the conquest of Canaan. Moving to verse 20, we see a summary of Ham's descendants, noting their dispersion across the earth. The Bible often emphasizes the dispersion of peoples and the division of nations, illustrating the growth of civilizations from a single family. This theme of expansion and division is a key aspect of Genesis, showing God's plan unfolding throughout human history. Archaeological discoveries in the Middle East, particularly in areas like modern-day Lebanon and Israel, have revealed evidence of the ancient Canaanite civilization. These findings include ancient city walls, pottery, and inscriptions that provide insights into the daily lives and beliefs of these people. The text then turns to the descendants of Shem in verses 21 to 22. Shem is often considered the ancestor of the Semitic peoples, including the Hebrews. His descendants include names like Elam, Ashur, and Arphaxad, nations that would become powerful empires in the ancient world. Shem's lineage is significant because it leads to Abraham, the father of the Israelite nation. This connection highlights the importance of Shem's descendants in God's unfolding plan, as they become the chosen people through whom the world would be blessed. In verse 25, we find a fascinating detail, Peleg, whose name means division, for it was in his time that the earth was divided. This may refer to the division of languages at the Tower of Babel, mentioned in the next chapter, symbolizing a critical moment in human history where unity was fragmented. The concept of a great division intrigues scholars and archaeologists. Some connect this to historical events, such as the spread of different languages and cultures across the ancient world, possibly linked to migrations and climate changes that reshaped societies. Finally, we reach the end of Genesis 10, which concludes with the descendants of Shem, Ham, and Japheth filling the earth. This chapter, though often overlooked, is fundamental to understanding the origins of nations and how God's plan unfolded through the generations. The genealogies of Genesis remind us that every nation, every people, has a place in God's creation. These lists are not just names, they represent real lives, cultures, and stories that continue to shape our world today. As we reflect on the spreading of nations, let us remember that despite our differences, we are all part of one human family. Just as God cared for Noah's descendants, He continues to care for us today, guiding us through life's divisions and challenges. For I know the plans I have for you, Jeremiah 29 verse 11. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, every day is a new opportunity to call upon the name of the Lord. See you next time.